Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 307 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. If you've never seen the stream before, if you're new, maybe it's because you are a new follower on Mastodon and you've never seen this stream before. Welcome. I hope it delivers what you're looking for. Let's start by sharing my screen and taking a quick look at the agenda. So today is November 16th, 2022. It's episode 307. Wow, words. I'm having some words difficulties today, but we're just going to try and push through it. Episode 307, a reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what I want to do today. I'm going to be working on some unified extension stuff. I'll explain what that is in just a second. But, I haven't really done any pre-planning. This is live hacking, so stuff could go wrong, could go sideways, the stream could fall over, I might hit a roadblock, who knows? None of this is pre-prepared, really. So, you're just going to sidecar with me while I work through it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the agenda that we're looking at is available for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the video description. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it's in the links details section on the left side. That's over there. If you're watching this on diode.zone, it's in the video description. If you're watching this on, where else am I? There's one more place. Twitch. Yeah, scroll down in Twitch. There's a link in the channel description to the agenda. And there's also a link in the agenda to the episode guide. The episode guide is a completely viewer-driven, viewer-guided resource for you. If you wanted to know what happened in a previous episode, you can check that out. And if you yourself want to add your own notes, addenda corrections, expand upon something I wrote or talked about, send a pull request to the repository. And if you're not sure how to do that or what that means, just follow the links here in the agenda. All right, let's get started. First of all, I just wanted to double check, is the Twitch chat working? I know that there was some issues a couple of weeks ago. I actually should check to see whether or not the bridge is working to Matrix. Let me just load up the chat here. Would someone mind saying something? Maybe, says someone. That's a no. The bridge is down. So let me quickly restart the bridge so I can see the Twitch chat in Matrix. So just give me 1 second. I apologize. I probably should have done that test before, but it didn't. So we're going to do that real quick. Just now, this is one of those things that, if not planning has, it's taken its toll, but you're going to watch me take care of business. So hold on a second. Let me just restart the bridge. One moment. Shut off the bridge. For folks who are curious about the bridge, I'm using something called MatterBridge to bridge Twitch and Matrix. So there we go. I've restarted the bridge, and now let's try saying something in Matrix. Test 1 2 3. Let's see if that shows up in here. Hey, there we go, and I see some chat from SureShack55 and Tizdenjon with the bridge test. Thank you so much, everybody, for helping me figure that out. We did it. Nice try, JB Script. Forget about it. Let's get in here. So what am I working on today? Well, first of all, if you recall from last week, what we were doing is like this long tail of trying to fix up a bunch of tests for a change that is occurring in our extension UI. If you're not familiar with how Firefox currently, maybe you're familiar with like the overflow panel in Firefox. Well, one of the things that we're trying to do in starting in 109 is to make it so that browser extension buttons, so things that are provided by web extensions, can only live in toolbars like this one here, or up here in the tab strip, or down in the bookmarks toolbar, or in this special panel just for add-ons over here. And we're in the final stretches of that project right now. Like I don't know if you noticed that we have this capability where when things overflow, they go into this overflow panel. And right now we're it's quite bizarre, actually. These should not be in here. These are in here, and for some reason some of them are showing up in here. That's very interesting. That's a bug I'm going to want to look at later. For some reason these are showing up in here. And then but normally they should be showing up all over here. Oh, it's because these are pinned. That's why. These are pinned. So right now we allow things to be moved into the overflow panel, but as soon as we're done this work, browser extension buttons will no longer be able to live here in this panel. Instead, they can live in this panel or they can live in the toolbars. That's the idea. And the primary reason for that, there's like a good reason for that. We're not just applying restrictions for restriction's sake. The primary reason for that is one of the things with Manifest v3, which is what we're working on support for, all of this is in support of Manifest v3, is the fact that web extensions do not get like carte blanche access to your the content anymore. They used to. They could request like permission to read the content of every website, but as part of Manifest v3, I believe they have to request permission like on a case-by-case basis, and then we remember if you like granted permission for a particular site. And so we need a place to anchor those permissions, and we need to make it so that anytime the web extension wants to ask, it's in a place that the user can see. So it's either in a visible toolbar or, worst case scenario, it's inside this panel. So that's the idea. And the other thing that we're doing is we've added like these capabilities for pinning and unpinning. So now, if an item here is in the toolbar, you can the idea is it's pinned to the toolbar, and it can be moved around to other toolbars. That's fine. But when you unpin it from a toolbar, then it gets moved over here into the extensions panel, and then this can be pinned to the toolbar again. That's something that recently got added. This chunk that we're looking at right here is kind of the next step, where whenever you create a web extension, the browser actions default area is going to be actually this panel rather than the nav bar. And we had a bunch of tests that were breaking because they all assumed that stuff was going to get inserted into the nav bar. So I changed a bunch of stuff, updated the test, got review, landed the patches, and then to use some Mozilla terminology, I don't know if anyone else uses this terminology, but when I attempted to land the patches, and then I bounced out. I got backed out because of test failures. So we can actually take a look at the test failure comments in here. So these parts have landed. 1782203. This part is landed. Let me put a link to the agenda in the agenda to that bug. Hang on. Copy summary. So that part has landed. If you refresh the agenda, you'll have the link now. And the part that hasn't landed is this part, which is the next step. And then the last step in this whole process is doing the migration into the any items that were existing in here are going to get migrated over into here. That's the last step. And then we put up the sort of the restrictions that prevent items from being moved back in here or into the customization palette. Whew! That's what's going on. So this was accepted. This has bounced. And I already solved some of the issues. It turns out I missed a couple of tests that need to be updated. I missed a test that was under toolkit components extensions, so I've updated that one. And I missed a test under DevTools because DevTools allows add-ons to add items to the DevTools panel, and as part of that, it expected to it expects to be able to debug web extensions, and this test was testing that and assumed that the browser action would add to the nav bar, so I had to update that test. But there's one thing still remaining. When I pushed to try last, there's this recurring failure inside of this test. Browser unified extensions overflowable toolbar. It's saying that undefined equals true. It's pretty consistent. Anytime I re-triggered this test a couple times, and it's failing pretty consistently. Although the actual set of error messages is slightly different. So there's something kind of flaky about this test that we need to debug, and that's what I'm hoping to do today. Is I want to make this test a lot more rock solid, so that I've been burned by this test a number of times, and I'm responsible for this test. I wrote this test, and so I'm sort of responsible for making sure it is a lot more solid and takes people less time to have to deal with it, to update it, and to have to deal with changes and stuff. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Now, the first issue that to sort of realize is that whenever we run this test on its own, on my machine anyways, I believe it just passes. I'm just going to run the test right now. You can see what's going to go on. Hang on, I just did a build, so it's got to regenerate the testing backend. So that's will just take a second here. I won't have to do that every time. Special shout out to Will Durand. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that, Will. I see that you're in the chat. Special shout out for all the work you've been doing and all of the reviews. I really appreciate it. Will is the one who's been, one of several people who've been working with me on these. He's like one of the lead developers on this whole project. I'm just kind of helping out. And he's the one who wrote this mailing list post that if you want details, like more details on what's going on, you can read this mailing list post. And he just sent a new message today kind of detailing what's going on and where we're going with it. So check that out. That's if you're curious. So what's going on here? This test is passing locally. It's failing remotely. And let's take a look. So what I like to do whenever I'm debugging a test like this is I'm going to start by looking at the log, and I'm also going to try and pull up a screenshot. So whenever a test failure occurs in this type of test, a screenshot is captured, and it's not immediately obvious, but it's under the artifacts that get created by the test run. And it's right here, this PNG image. So let's pull that up and we take a look at what's happening. So the first thing this is not unusual to have, because there's no keyboard plugged into the test machine. So it's like this dialogue is sometimes in the way. That's annoying, but it's not the thing that I think we should be worried about. This is a little more interesting, I'm noticing, because I know for a fact that each of these extensions that have been created is supposed to have created browser actions. That's this kind of button. You can tell like the icon is a slightly different shade. It's less transparent than these. And this is a browser action right here. There's only one. And there's like some redundancy here too. Like this is not the same thing as this. This is the button, the toolbar button having been collapsed into the panel. And this is like the controls for the individual web extensions with whether or not they have a browser action. And if you heard me talking last week, we're going to be reducing some of the redundancy there, where if there's an item in here that belongs to a particular browser extension, a web extension, we won't show the other one. Like there will only ever be one in the panel. If the web extension has a visible browser action somewhere, we won't show an item for it in the panel. I think that's the rule. But I'm not working on that part. Okay, so there's only one showing up in here, and so that's immediately suspicious because I know there's supposed to be one for each of these. And let's take a look at the log. There can only be one, says Danny Colin. Special shout out. Let's do a shout out. Special shout out to, I wanted to say Homelander. That's not right. Special shout out to Highlander. I think that's what it's called. That's the show. Highlander, not Homelander. Okay. So let's go through this test. So there's this subtest within the test. Let's open the test actually, called test context menu. That's the one that's failing. Test context menu. And what it does is it creates a window with the Unified Extensions UI enabled. And then it uses this helper with window overflowed. And, that does a lot of the work. Basically, this helper function, which I'm going to guess is where the problem is, actually. This helper function does a lot. One of the things it does is it creates a bunch of web extensions by default. Like, it creates them with browser actions, and then it puts them all in the toolbar, the nav bar, and then it shrinks the window so that they overflow. And then it runs this task in here. And so it's like, hey, you should have some items in the unified extension list. Yeah, Homelander is in the boys. Yeah, that's right. Highlander is different than Homelander. 100%. And then after making sure that there's some stuff in the list, it opens the panel, and it makes sure that like the context menus and the cog menu work properly inside there. And that all makes sense. What this is falling over in is somewhere within here around line 670, right here, where it's trying to get another extension widget. And that's why, we're failing because it's finding this, and it's supposed to be finding the the browser action, not this thing. The sort of the unified extension item is what we're calling them. And so something inside of with window overflowed is not waiting long enough, basically, for the items in the toolbar to either be created or to get moved over to the extensions panel. That's what I think is going on. So let's take a quick look at with a window overflowed, walk through it, see what's going on. Okay, it does most of the heavy lifting. It registers and enables num extensions that add browser action buttons to the nav bar. It resizes the window, force things after the URL bar into the overflow. It calls an async test function, analyze the overflow lists, restores the window with the original width, and then unloads all the test web extensions. So we know that all of the test web extensions have been created. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We only create, how many do we create? We create 5 by default here. We know they've all been created because here they are. So we must have gotten past this point. We also know that we did create the browser actions because we have a listener, like that we created the widgets, the things that that get added to the toolbar, because we've got the special listener that's waiting for the buttons to be added. And that's because creating web extensions, this is an asynchronous operation. It does some stuff off of the main thread in a different process, and like eventually a button gets put in, and so we have to wait for that. Will Durand is pointing out that, yeah, the first 2 extensions are kind of special. The first one, it makes sure that it has a context menu. That's part of the context menu test that we were just looking at. So it especially prepares one to have a context menu item. And then the second one has a context menu with a sub menu. And they're like specially prepared to, you know, to do certain things whenever those menus are created. And presumably when they're clicked. Background, create, send message, menu created when it's created. Okay. Okay. So we get past this part. We get past waiting for the menus to be created. We're done listening, and then we resize the window. And then I added this sort of like really hacky thing where we basically, we poll the nav bar to say, hey, are you overflowing? And then I use this thing called signpost widget ID. Signpost widget ID is the very first item in the toolbar. It should be anyways. The very first item in the toolbar, because I set it up that way. It should be the default widget IDs. So I remove everything else out of that is removable out of the nav bar. And then I put in the home button, the library button, the zoom controls, search container, and the sidebar button in here. And then I also make the home button just a little bit wider. Like I do this hack to like force the signpost widget to be extra wide to make sure that it overflows. And my suspicion is that even though the signpost widget is overflowed, and then we check to make sure that the first extension ID is overflowed. Let's take a look at the overflowable toolbar code again, because there's some asynchronicity here that I think we're getting burned by. So whenever the overflow occurs, what do? We get some overflow info, and then we work our way from the rightmost part of the overflowable toolbar. We set overflowed item on it. We fire on widget overflow. That might be something we might want to wait for. And then if it's from the is a web extension child. Sorry, I should be thinking out loud here. I'm not thinking out loud. So there is like this asynchronous action going on here on overflow where we get the info and then we just start moving items back until we figure out when we are no longer overflowing. We check to see if we're overflowing still. And if not, then we bail out. You know, a thing has just occurred to me. Is it possible check overflow? Checks if they're overflow items. Check overflow calls that. On resize. On widget after DOM change. What is the thing that handles overflow? Something just occurred to me, which is like, oh, do we not use the overflow event? We use the resize event. And this is the only place where we do on overflow. This function is often recalled even when a prior call hasn't yet resolved. In that situation, the older calls resolve early without doing any work and leave any DOM manipulation to the most recent call. That's true. Check overflow handle. Here's what I'm thinking. So check overflow will be fired on resize events. Resize events are like the comment says, they'll be fired in bursts. You get a whole bunch of them. And when you've got stuff like that and you've got asynchronicity, things can go out of order. Especially if you're having to deal with like layout. This get overflow info thing, for example, involves waiting for the styles to get waiting for the document layout basically to run. And so one of the things I'm wondering is it possible that a burst of resize events come in because we resize the window, and then we're already doing one. We're already doing one of these. Like we're already in the midst of calling on overflow. Let's think this through for a second here. Where's on overflow? Here, let me open up 2 columns. Can I get close others? Don't save. Don't save. Get rid of all this stuff. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. What am I trying to do here? Close unmodified. Sure. And what I want is customizable UI here, and then another customizable UI over here. And I want to look at on overflow and check overflow. Because part of me wonders whether or not we're dealing with reentrancy. That's this class of problem of we are re-entering a function. Okay, so in my brain, we're gonna let's walk through this. Let's say a burst of resize events have come in. Let's say 3 resize events, all very quickly, one after the other. The first one comes in, and we run this async function. We create a new overflow handle, and let's say we get past this one on the first one, maybe because the because the event, let's say the second resize event hasn't been called by the time we get here yet. So we skip over this, and then we await on overflow. So we enter here, and then we get the overflow info again. And we're gonna keep doing that. Like for each child, we'll await a couple of places. And while we're doing that, what if another resize event comes in? And if that happens, we would overwrite this and maybe re-enter this. In which case, like, we might have 2 on overflows running at the same time. That's what I'm wondering. And that, I mean, I don't know why this is so fragile in automation, but if this is actually what's happening, I wonder if I could sort of make it happen using verify headless. So that verify will try a bunch of different ways of running the test to try and force it to fail by stressing the test a lot. And one of those is with using something called chaos mode, which randomly reprioritizes threads and reorders the contents of memory where things are supposed to be unsorted collections to try and surface non-deterministic behavior within our tests. And so let's see if we can sort that out that way. Overflow. So here's another. If we enter here, window closed, or we already kind of do that check here. I wonder if we should move this actually to within this while loop. Oh, no, we do. We do. Stop if the window is closed or we... Okay. Okay, so my theory seems to be, it looks like this was already thought of, where we will bail out here in the event that... another overflow has occurred. Okay. That theory is now out the door. So what would explain why the button... There's only one in here. Did the other ones somehow manage to get into here? And why is this patch the one that does it? That's the other question. Why is it that this is only becoming a problem with these two? Did I, for example, change this test. I did. What is the change I made? Well, just the defaults. Just the defaults. And this helper. And there. Unified extensions overflowable toolbar. We don't use that, or at least not directly. Maybe we should actually be testing that all of the items have all of the query selector data extension ID 0 overflowed item equals true. Item equals true. Here, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this a little bit because we do get an event fired through the customizable UI mechanism. We're going to create a new kind of listener. I'm going to call it an overflow listener. Widget overflow listener. Let overflow listener equal. And we're going to define. We're going to use some of this same logic here. This is a little bit of repetition, but that's all right. And the thing we want to wait for is this on widget overflow. On widget overflow. And what do you get past? The child and the target being our customization target. So the actual element. Okay, so on widget overflow area node. And so it's not the ID, it's the actual widget node that overflows. So can we say if widget node.id ends with browser action, then we'll decrement that. And then let's get rid of that. We might not even need the signpost widget at that point. Oh no, because we do want to wait until all of the default items also overflow. But we know how many of those there are. 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 items. Num extensions. So widget overflow, remaining overflowables equals num extensions plus default widget IDs dot length. And then if we decrement that, we don't even need to check that. We could just do that, and like that, and like that, and then that will resolve. And then we don't even need the signpost widget. Return. If we know that this is fired multiple times, then we know we can just get rid of this wait for condition altogether. Await widget overflow listener dot promise. We're going to want to do that after the resize, which happens here. So we're actually going to want to set this up first. And add that here. Let's reorder this a little bit. All right. So that all passed the verify. Let's try it now with our alterations. Whoops. It's hard for me to think of why that would have failed in the first place, though, in automation. Okay, that passes. Let's run verify again. And then we can push this up to try. And the last thing I want to do, like I'll commit that, but also I want to add some logging just in case it turns out that we're wrong and this isn't helpful. Let's add some logging. So what's the logging mechanism here? I'm gonna close. I don't think this is helpful anymore to have the second pane, so we're gonna remove that. We're gonna go back to single log debug. Oh, sorry, log lazy log. It's using console and lazy G debugging enabled. Kpref customization debug. Okay, so if we set that to true, we can work with that. And the things I want to log are like on overflow lazy.log.debug on overflow entered. And then firing on widget overflow for child.id, and then inserting child into web extension overflow list. Inserting child into default overflow list. And let's just put the ID in there again for a good measure. And then yeah, I think that'll work. How's this going? Still running. Let's give this another few minutes. And then we can push this up to try and then move on to something slightly different. Which is, there's another set of patches to land all related to this, which is the actually putting stuff into the panels. And there's like I'm going crazy orange over here. Like it's there's lots to fix. So we'll do that next. Turns out there were some tests I forgot to change. So I'll do that. Just want this to complete, and so I can commit and push this to try. If this isn't done in the next 15 seconds, then I'll go ahead and just cancel it, because it hasn't failed yet. 1. I'll count down. Ready? 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You know what? I'll do a shout out. Quick shout out to Smurf D, who has just asked a great question. Did you have it fail locally, or was it only on try? It's only failed on try, which is one of the really frustrating things about this. And this class of failure is it only fails in automation. I can't stand those kind. All right, so this is not completed. I'm just going to Control C out of this. We can push this up. So I added some logging. What I'll do is I'll create 2 individual commits. I've got one fix here, another fix there. I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna say amend, but only for the change to the test. And then this logging I'm going to put in a separate commit. And then I should make sure that the logging works properly. Oh, and then we should flip the pref so that it actually logs when we run the test. Add logging. So the pref is it's the debug pref. Debug. This one. Do the tests already have that running by default? No. So mock, if I do this again without the verify, but instead I say set pref true, let's see what it says. And then I don't think I can I do mock try and set a pref? I got a feeling I can't, but maybe I can. Let's actually open up a new, oh, yeah, I forgot to do headless. That's okay. Okay, that's helpful. A lot of good stuff in there. Now, I worry a little bit that adding logging may or may not actually impact the, like logging itself may impact the failure, because it's a race, it seems like. So what I'll do is I'm going to say mock try fuzzy will run just the extensions test. Does it let me set a pref? No. Okay, so we're gonna add a extensions test browser.ini. Yeah, we're gonna set the preference here. But only do that in one of 2 test runs. So let's do a test run right now. We'll do this as an artifact build, and let's go. And I just care about the Mac OS one. We don't need to run it on the other ones, I don't think. Well, maybe it'd be good to run it on the other ones. Okay, fine. Let's go. Anyone want anyone have any questions while we're waiting for mock try to construct its job list? Feel free to drop a question into the chat. I'll do my best to answer it. Special shout out to anyone who's watching the stream for the first time and was wondering what the heck's going on. Happy to have you here. I don't see any questions from the chat, but feel free to drop one in. Wow. Really taking his time generating this task list. All right. So in the meantime, maybe let's examine what other tests we're going to be needing to manipulate today. The first one, I think it's a bunch of customizable UI tests we're going to want to look at. It's possible I've actually broken something here, so we're going to need to check that out in particular. Here's another one, show toolbars drop down. We'll do them one at a time. We got our task list yet? Come on. Come on. All right, let's take a quick peek at the failure here. Button should be able to reset now. Button, once again, has no anchor in Customize panel. And customizing. So are we timing out here? Uncaught exception after customize listener. So exiting customization mode seems to fail, and that's because we have a stack. Customizable UI 3655. What? Customizable UI 3655. Can't access property join. Current placements is undefined. Okay, well, hold on. Let's get these tests a running. We'll just do them all. Let's just go for it. Do I think there are too many tests? Never. Never. For an application, a critical application like a web browser, get those tests up. So what could this be talking about? Oh, I've got it. Great. In reset, in update button state, and get in default state, can't access property join. Current placements is undefined. I must have screwed something up somewhere. In default state. Get the areas. Current placements is we get the area ID for our areas. Set area ID. Must not have. Register, we had the widget. Set area. Add widget, G placements. Restore state. I seem to recall we did something kind of fishy there. We're going to need to look at that later. Boy, howdy, that's taken a while, eh? Let's get on that, gang. In one of these, here, this is the migration. That's not the one. This one? In reset UI state. we don't call restore state, and then we clear the placements. I think that's the bug here, where we need to actually set the placements. Oh no, hold on. Add widget to area. Oh, because if there are no widgets, if there are no extension widgets, placements will be empty. So we should, no matter what, initialize it with an empty array. Because we didn't call restore state for area. Got it. That's what we need to do. Okay. So let's start by rebasing these other patches. Onto tip. I can prune these now because they're built into the tree, so that's nice. So this is good. Our tests actually caught a bug. That's what we're seeing here. There's a bug in the code that I wrote, not a bug in the test, and that's good. I'm glad. That's why we. So to answer your question, Jamie Inc., I think there are too many tests? No, the tests worked. They caught a problem. They caught me not accounting for something. So we're gonna go to here. No, here. No, here. No, here. I'm gonna go there. Actually, what I'll do, I'll just go to the very top. I don't want to have to deal with, here's what I'll do. We're gonna build this, and then we're gonna make sure that the test fails locally. And this fix may actually fix a number of these things, which will be exciting. So this should fail. Here's our job we just pushed. Oh, I wanted to do another one with the logging. All right, I'll do that next once we get this to pass. The one with the logging will be in the event that these fail. Like one of these fails. Well, I want more information then. Honestly, that sometimes is like the... Okay, there we go. Yeah, it fails. So I think the solution here is... what is it? Default state. Where did I say? Reset UI state down here. We're gonna say G placements set customizable UI area add-ons. We're gonna have it be the empty array. Now what happens? So it was an uninitialized array. It was a non-existent array. The array did not exist. And normally that gets done by this, restore state for area, but because we skipped that here, there's an optimization that Heis asked for, then the array didn't get created. So we will special case we were already special casing area add-ons, and we'll do it again over here. That's how we'll do it. And I'll probably want to add some commentary for that. Yay. Okay, so let's add some commentary. Restore state for area will have normally set an array for the placements for each area, but since we skip area add-ons, intentionally, that array doesn't get set, so we do that manually here. So that passes now. Let's see if the other ones pass, which is show toolbars drop down. Booyah. Still customizable after reset. I love these descriptive test names. Booyah. Something bug toggle with other pop-up. If this passes, I'm just going to run the whole directory because yeah, all right, let's run the whole directory. This should not take long. Not like last week. The extensions tests there's so many of them, and it takes like 10 minutes for me to run all of them. I'm not going to do that this time. For the customizable UI tests only take like, I think they're less than a minute. So we'll run them. Write tests for your code, people. That's the name of the game. Okay, so we're just over a minute now. These should be almost done. Shouldn't we check that the placement for the add-ons area is missing, or is it okay to unconditionally initialize it to an empty array? Should we check that the placement for the add-ons area is missing? Well, we know it's missing because earlier on in that function we had cleared out the placements array, or like we created a new map. Here, I'll show you in just a second when this test is done. These tests are done running. Wow, this is taking longer than I thought. Woo. But so far we seem to be. I haven't seen any test failures fly by, so that's good. We haven't. Hey, all right. So that took 2 minutes 12 seconds. So the reason why we can do that is because G placements got reset. Where is it? Here. So the array, the map is cleared out, and then we call restore state for area, except for the add-ons area, for reasons, optimization reasons, and then in the event that like this is what would normally set the array for us right here. And yeah, we're saving a bunch of effort in here, like DOM manipulation, so we don't have to do that. we're treating the add-ons area kind of specially. I don't know if that answers your question, Will, but like there's nothing that's going to be in G placements because the map got recreated. It got skipped here, so we know that nothing will be set there, so we can set it here for ourselves. Okay. The last thing I want to check. Oh, did I already? I think I may have actually already tested this. There was a test the reset state. I wanted to make sure that that still works. And it may have just run by virtue of, yeah, running this directory. Yep. Yeah, all good. Thanks for asking the question, Will. Thanks for, it was a great question. So that still works. And let's test it manually too. Do I have any add-ons? I don't have any. My profile got blown away. Okay, we add a couple here. Relay. Let's add Privacy Badger. Boom, 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 boom. Store defaults. There they are. And then can I move them again? Yep. Let's move them here, there. There they are. Okay. And we got rid of, I think, the undo customize mode thing. There used to be a way to like you'd restore oh no, we do have redo here. Undo. So that works. That's nice. Undo. Woohoo. Undo. Good stuff. All right. We get that for free. So I think that takes care of much of what was going wrong in here. I think these were all customizable UI failures. Were there any other failures that were being reported from this stuff? No. How about, I presume we were seeing stuff from the overflowable toolbar? No? We didn't see it in here? That's interesting. Oh, maybe because debug. Oh, no. Oh. That's interesting. It doesn't fail for these. I didn't see it failing. That's interesting. That is interesting. It's just these. All right, well, let's put this stuff up for try as well. So I'm gonna fold that into here. Cool. I didn't know you can pin the add-ons to a tab. Yeah, yeah, you can, not to a particular tab, but you can drag them up into your tab strip for sure. Or your bookmarks toolbar if you want. Totally. HG amend. Yeah, watch this stream if you want to see weird things you can do in Firefox that maybe you didn't know. I'm all sorts of full of that information. We're going to replay these two. And let's run our query, our mock try again. mock try again, and then I think there's a way I can list the ones I've done recently. Yeah, I want to do this one. Mock try again index 1. Yeah. And all of these, that took 98 minutes to run. Jeez. So I might have the information after the stream is done, unfortunately, for these. 39 minutes, 60 minutes. But for these guys, we might have the information before the end of the stream. This 1015 web render on Mac OS took 16 minutes. This is already 2 minutes in, so I would expect us to have some results within the next 15 or so minutes. And now what are we going to work on? Oh, geez. You know, once this stuff lands, there's some unified extension stuff that still needs to get cleaned up. There was some fallout from some of my earlier patches related to the overflowable toolbar that we should take a look at. So we can start looking into some cleanup. But like my contributions to this project are more or less wrapped after these land. I'll probably help sand down some edges, but like that's the bulk of it. It's been a nice contained project. It's only been a couple of weeks and just like very well-defined requirements and boom, boom, boom. So big shout out to the people running this project. I know Will and Shane and Julien and like a bunch of people have been working on this stuff. So I think Will shouted out a bunch of people inside of here as well. So all these people, thank you so much for your help. And you know, it's nice to work on a project that's like really well defined, and it's, you know, that's always satisfying. Okay, before I continue, I want to go back down to this one. I want to re-push this just as a precaution. I'm going to push this up to try again, but with logging enabled. Okay. And then mock try again. Which one did I want to do? Wanted to do 0. And that, as they say, is that. 4 minutes in. Let's see how this goes. Wait, this was yesterday. Oh yeah. Okay, let's see what goes on here. What are the things that we could try cleaning up? We've got like 20 minutes left. I'll give you some choice. I'll give you some choices, gang. I can start looking at some of that cleanup work, or I can also field some questions. I know that people have been really excited about, you know, in the feedback that I receive, they enjoy me answering questions that I can try and answer. But no one's asked any questions. They're like, yeah, I love Q&A, and then they don't supply any Qs, so I can't give any As. So if you have any Qs, drop them in the chat and I'll do my best. And if you're watching this in the future, like maybe you're watching the recording, you can send questions in through the form and I'll do my best. Like, even if you're watching this way in the future, I still monitor all the old forums, so, you know, send questions in. Why was the error only on Mac? Great question. I don't even know why the error was in the first place. There are a number of reasons. If you take a look at possible reasons, I'll say, if you take a look at the screenshot here, it could have any. There could be any number of reasons, to be honest. It could have to do with the screen resolution. and the refresh driver, and how often, for example, we resize events fire on a particular platform, or how often we flush layout, due to the, how often does the does layout tick. We throttle that back a little bit. Maybe we throttle it differently on different platforms depending on like the platform. There could be any number of reasons. This is a particularly fiddly one. You'll note that like when you resize a window, like resizing windows in particular, I feel like it falls into the special camp of platformy inconsistency, along with focus. So window focus changes, window resizing changes, all of these ultimately are, talking to the operating system at like the top level primitive window level, like where the operating system grants us a window that we draw into. And so when we're talking about like resize events, these are things that the operating system is telling us are occurring, and then those get like retranslated and dispatched into the Gecko like event loop. And so yeah, it's possible that the way that the resize events fire on Mac OS is slightly different than the way they fire, like the native resize events are different than the way they fire on Linux and Windows. I know that Linux and Windows tend to be closer when it comes to resize events, at least in my experience. But Linux is also kind of a weird cat when it comes to resize events. But it could be any number of things, and I don't actually know. I don't even know why the reason was in the first place. So what I did was this is a speculative fix, what I landed. Some speculative fixes. And we're just going to see if it solves the issue. But I don't actually know why. And sometimes that's what it takes, Sometimes I could go down to the nitty-gritty, and the logging that I've added, in the event that this doesn't fix it, the logging could help illuminate what was actually going wrong. And that might allow us to go like, oh, I understand. Here's the proper fix. But I have a hypothesis, and my hypothesis was that we weren't waiting for all of the web extension widgets to overflow. And so the panel was getting opened, the task was running even before the web extensions have had a chance to be put into that panel. That's my hypothesis. Yeah. Hopefully that's a helpful answer to your question. I noticed today's Nightly that the overflow menu is different from the universal add-ons menu in terms of overflow. Are you not debugging the overflow menu? No. So you're saying that the overflow menu is different from the universal, what we call the unified extensions menu in terms of overflow. Yes, it is different. It's different in that like this is one panel and this is a different panel. This looks a little weird in here because these aren't supposed to be in here by the end of the week. Hopefully these won't be in here anymore. These will all have been migrated over into here. And so we won't have this sort of weird mixture of appearances. But yeah, these are two very distinct kinds of things. This is going to be where extension buttons live unless they're in a toolbar. That's the idea. And this is going to be where built-in widgetry, built-in buttons overflow into, in the event that they overflow, or you can like send built-in items into this panel with the customize mode. That's the other way you can do it. You can pin them, like this one, pin to overflow menu. Here it goes, down here at the bottom, unpin. I don't know if that answers your question, Jamie NK 123. Yo boo boo. Okay, so we've got our first greenback, and these are still running. Still got a couple minutes, maybe 5 or so minutes on this one. See how it goes. 16 minutes. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the other bugs that got filed for all of this unified extension stuff that I should start thinking about fixing, because there's like a bunch of follow-up work. The telemetry stuff. Maybe we'll work on that. Append via context menu. Remove. Yeah, that's a cleanup for after this whole thing ships. That's the one we were just looking at. And then shutdown leaks. You know, it's possible that what we just fixed is going to fix this as well. I guess that's possible. Valid default should fall back to using area. So we're working on that. Consider hiding some extensions in the Unify extensions panel. That's Will's bug. Refactor CSS. That's learn more. Change. Have enabled as installed. Identify. Just use native menus. Okay. Contrast. Avoid flickering. Filter out extensions. So I think there's one in here related to the overflow one, which is it was like when hidden items. Yeah, this one. I hope it's all right, Will. I'm going to move that over as a blocker for this. Or at least blocks for now. Which bugs are ones you dread? Oh. In a way, I dread bugs where it's like, hey, mysterious test failures. Oh, look, test failures. But this is a known intermittent, I think. We'll re-trigger that one just to double check, but so far we've got one green, one orange, but maybe with a known intermittent. Still waiting on this one. This is the one I want to see go green. Go green. Okay. Let's look at, of the two of these, let's start with browser usage telemetry. Because I noticed this one the other day. We need to fix up browser usage telemetry to accommodate our new add-ons area in order to properly record keyed scalars for UI telemetry. Should do that and add tests. Indeed. Okay, so I can get rid of this commit on top. So now I'm here. I'm going to build and browser usage telemetry. So this is the thing that allows us to generate heat maps on what people are clicking on, so that we know, for example, oh, no one uses this button, so we should maybe remove it from the defaults. Or, you know, this one's really, really important, so let's add to the defaults. So that's what this stuff's for. And I think we started to not... Well, this is starting to fail because there's certain types of areas that aren't being accounted for. Was it navbar? Browser UI container IDs. It's because of this. We need to add to the container IDs. Containers of interactive as the camera. They're pretty names. These should be listed in order most specific to least specific. When entering JavaScript, we'll guarantee that ordering, and so we'll find the most specific area first. Where's the overflow one? Fix list. So we'll add it right here. And it's the unified extensions. What is it called? Customizable UI area add-ons. It's called unified extensions area. probably seems a little redundant, but that's what's going on. How does that work? Widget set, state personal toolbar. If not area, continue. Nav bar. Okay, let's see if that's enough to actually get the telemetry to show up. Because then the vast majority of our time will be writing a test for this. How we doing? We got our failure. It's still happening. It's still happening. Test unexpected. Fail. Test timed out. Now it's timing out. It's almost like the widgets aren't getting added properly. The logs here are going to be very illuminating, I think. So I will read those after. No, says Jamie and Kay. Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of thing that I dread, right? Like the sort of only fails in automation kind of tests. I dread those. Because ultimately, unless it's something that I can use like Pernosco or RR or something on, I end up having to like either use, you know, inspection and speculative fixes, or you just like land stuff with logging until you can sort of suss out what the problems are. What are the red stripes in the search bar in the screenshot? Is a question. Right, this is how we indicate that the browser is being used by automation. So our automated tests automate the browser, and in the same way, it uses the same mechanism that if you were using like, I think Selenium or any of the web page testing tools, like I think it uses some of the underlying framework. And anytime the browser is being instrumented by automation, the URL looks like this, the URL bar, to sort of indicate, hey, this thing is being automated right now. So that's why you normally wouldn't see it unless you're using like Selenium or Puppeteer or something. So the first thing I want to do is open up telemetry and look at our keyed scalars. And we're going to look at click events. Process. What's it gonna be? It's probably like if I click on one. I've noticed this bug lately on Nightly where like we won't render sometimes right away. I have to file a regression for that because I think the document is there. It's just it is there. See? Yeah, I'll have to file that later. Okay, so did we end up noticing any of those clicks? Doesn't look like it. Browser usage telemetry. Record command. Okay, so we go in here. It's not ignorable. UI target elements. Or it doesn't want telemetry, then we skip that. We're gonna get the widget ID. What was the widget ID? get the widget container. What's the widget container? Nav bar. If item. Scalar. So we are adding. Oh, right. Browser UI. What's the scalar name? Browser UI interaction nav bar. Right. Yeah. We should be adding telemetry. The nav bar is not one that. Yeah, here we go. Add on 0 and add on 1. So we saw lots of clicks here. This is actually not that interesting because this is not broken. The one that we care about is if it's in here. So did we record telemetry for that? Browser UI interaction. I'll bet you we didn't, because I'll bet you we need to define, yeah, unknown scalar. I need to add the scalar. Right. Nav bar. App menu, content, overflow menu. And it's called Unified Extensions Area. And the bug number is this one. With items in the Unified Extensions area. Records a count of interactions with items in the Unified Extensions area. Now, I'm actually curious what'll happen if the user clicks on like one of these cogs. We'll check that next. Expires never. Notification emails. Let's add Will. I think that's your email address. I'll ask Will if that's okay in review. To be added to the list, or if there's a better person to add. W. Durand. Okay. Every time Mike focuses on the screenshot, my brain goes, "Oh, Windows 98," because the background color of that Mac OS machine for sure. Okay, so I'll need to file a data review request to make sure that our data stewards are okay with that. But that should do it. Yeah, pretty bummed that we didn't figure out our solution here. And these ones are now failing. Leaked 5 windows. Oh, good. Now we're leaking. What could have caused that? These leaks weren't there before. Did I remember to remove? I didn't remember to remove the listener. That's why. So that's why we're leaking. So that is an easy fix. But we're still timing out. It's weird that this didn't leak. Huh. Is that a clue? All right, well, I think I'm going to call the stream there. Thank you so much for watching episode 307 of The Joy of Coding. Let me know what you thought. There's a Rate This Episode link in the agenda and all the places where you found the link to the agenda. I want to hear from you. So if you have questions or thoughts or comments, I read everything that comes in. So let me know what you thought. If this was your first time watching the stream, hey, thanks for being here. And if you've been here for a long time, hey, thanks for being here. And I'll hopefully see you next week with episode 308 All right, I'm calling it there. Thanks so much, everybody. Have yourselves a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.